Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is Sunday, July 31st. How is everybody? Awesome, that's really good to hear. So I had I'm not going to say a productive week, because it wasn't a terribly productive week. At least not as productive as I probably would have liked for the week to have been, but, you know, it is what it is. I spent all week thinking that Friday was the last day of the month because I didn't change my calendar in here from June to July. And so that had me all kinds of thrown off with my plans for the week. So, here we are. So I've got my August goals. We've got Whip Go to discuss, which is always exciting. I do have some updates to show. I don't have any haul this week, which that's fine. You don't have to have a week with haul. So we will dive right on in. So the first question, I've got some good Q&A today. Thank you to everyone who left some Q&A. The first comes from MBC Stitcher, my good friend Matt, who asks, what has been your favorite part of the Under the Sea Sow so far? So that is the Frosted Pumpkin one. I have not started the new part yet, because I was wanting to get a little farther on Haunted Library. So, probably won't work on that one this weekend. Probably will be next weekend that I work on it. So this time some pufferfish and a couple other things were added. Another diver was added. So here's the sow as it is so far. I think my favorite part, quite honestly, I really love the mermaid because I really love how her hair ended up turning out. I got a new ring light. Let's see if maybe that makes things a little more clear. I'm really proud of how her hair turned out. I also really like the stingray, and as of now, I'm not wild about my treasure chest, but I know once the beads get added that I'm going to really like it. But I think probably the mermaid. So I'm using Mini Waters by Ship's Manor for this one. But so far, that's been my favorite part. Boop. Okay. Sandra Hayes asks, I am considering treating myself to the set of Orifloss thread. Can you give me some pros and cons? I bought the Sulky sets last year and I do love it. So the only real con that I had was as my experience as an artisan. So not with the product itself. So one of the things I really love about it, it's really particularly the 12 weight. It lays beautifully. It gives fantastic coverage. You do get a lot on a spool. You can buy large spool sizes of specific colors too if you need like a cone, kind of like a cone of death. It comes in a very attractive box. The biggest probably con is storing it. Especially if you have more colors, like if you buy the full set and you're going to keep it in that, great. But it's not easy to store if you don't have those containers. So that's probably really the biggest con. I feel like it's a better quality than Sulky. I feel like its twisting is more even and stays consistent. I didn't have much of a thickness issue throughout, like I have sometimes with the Sulkies. Shelley Meldrum asks a very good question. She asks, how do you keep track of where all your thread is located in projects? By and large, I tend to be pretty good about keeping, about not, at least with DMC, with not, like, trying to overkit up. So if I'm not, like, I'll put the specialty threads with a project and leave it, but the DMC, I tend to keep in my boxes until the whip becomes an active whip again. And that's just to try to cut down on having to buy more when I really don't necessarily need to buy more. That being said, sometimes if it's an issue if I need it to start like a new project, but it's not going to be one that's going to stay in the rotation. Sometimes I will go grab it from another bag if I know where it is. But I don't really keep track per se. Like, I don't have like a system that lists like XYZ project uses ABC colors. It tends to just be, I think this is in that project, and I've got a pretty good memory. Now in 10 years, we'll see. We may have to do something different then. But, that's a good question. Like I said, I do tend to remember color to color, but I do try to keep my DMC. If I'm not actively going to be working on one, I tend to take the DMC out and put it back in my cases in case I need it. Robin B. asks a couple of good questions. She asks, how many active whips do I have going, and how many do I have sitting in the to get to pile? So I tend to keep about 10 in rotation. Based on my current wheel. Yeah, there are currently 10. No, there's actually 11. That one's not on there. Okay, so currently I have 11, not counting the 2 cells. So I guess technically that's 13. Ooh, that's 13. Okay. Ooh. All right. So we've got that. And then in what I call the archives, there are currently 32 projects. So when I started the year, I had 42 in the archives. So I've now cleared 10 of them out, which that's pretty good. So, yeah. And yes, I do drink coffee. I'm not one of those that really tends to be too particular, because if ever going to go outside, I would not be drinking hot coffee, but I stay inside, and we have air conditioning, so coffee year-round, because I need my coffee. Yeah, I've enjoyed doing this archive thing. One thing I have noticed is I've been a little, and I think some of it was just some timing this week, and because I'm definitely loving what I've got in my rotation currently. I do feel like I probably need to get a couple of more middle-sized things started, because I've started a lot of smalls that have been real quick to finish. Deborah Dixon asks, can I talk a little bit about the variety of techniques, stopping and starting thread that you use? So I've got two primary. I pretty much stop all my threads the same way, which is threading it under stitches. I pretty much stop everything that way. The only time I will do a knot is usually with beading thread, because it's so thin. I want to make sure that and I usually even try to like stick it in between some floss just to give it a little extra catch. But otherwise, it's just to run it under what you got going. For starting, I tend to do one of three things. So, here they are. I guess technically there's 4. So, my number one favorite way is the loop start, which is where you which is when you take the double strand. I'm trying to figure out how to best sort of describe this. So, I don't want to use that. I'm trying to find one where I'm not going to be disturbing. Okay, here we go. We'll just do this for example. This is not how I would actually do it with this, but because this is not a project that I would, or a type of floss that I would do it with. I'd only be using single strand, but it's where you take and you have the loop so that when you go down, you can catch the thread like that. So there are better tutorials than me just wrapping that around my finger out there, I promise you. But that's the one I try to use the most. Now, if it's DMC and if it's a piece that I've already cut, like it was a longer one and I'm moving it, then I'll do one of two things. I will either, this is actually a good example to start with because I finished this color, so. Where are my scissors? There's not a pair closer. It's one of those days, folks. Okay. So I will do it one of two ways. I will either take, so here's my now cut. I'll either take and run it sort of the opposite of when I finish it. I'll run it under stitches that exist already and then hold in place on the back. I'll either do that. If it's not something I can loop start, and I'm having to start in an area where there's not really a good place to position under, then I'll do one of two things. I'll either pin stitch, which is not going to be easy, isn't super easy on Ada, so I'm not going to show it on that one. I'll either hold the tail and then just pray that I kind of stitch over it, or I will pin stitch. I'll try to show this as best I can. Pin stitching and there are, of course, better tutorials, is where you come up and you basically do, for your bottom leg, a quarter stitch. Followed by another quarter stitch back into the center. So you create your bottom leg basically with two stitches, and then your top leg covers it and you don't see where the stitch was essentially broken. So there are certainly miles better tutorials than what I just showed you. Miles better out there. But those are the methods I use for starting. And like I said, basically all of my stopping is going to just be running my needle under a couple of threads to secure it. The one kind of exception to that, and I'll show you all in a little bit, it's going to be a little harder to get to at the moment, but on an embroidery piece, there I usually will start with a knot, because especially if it's using yarn, because that's just the simplest method there, and that's actually weirdly what's encouraged for that. Katie Punch asks, have I ever lost my stitchy bug? And if so, how did I get it back? I've never really lost it, like, lost it outright. I've gone through phases where I've just not, where what I've been working on hasn't really intrigued me. That's usually a good time for me to go, oh, I'm going to read a book, or let me try something different for a day or two, and then usually I come back to it. And who knows, maybe that's a little bit of what's going on with me right now. It's just that I've lost my bug a little bit. I hope not, but but I've never, like, lost it, for which I'm quite grateful. And then Helen Taylor asks, does my hubby stitch with me? And he does not. He is not a fan of that sort of stuff. So, that's fine. I don't have to share my stash that way. All right. And that is the end of the Q&A. All right, so I'll show you what I worked on this week, which isn't tremendous amounts. And then I will also, and I'm going to go over the August goals as well as WIPCO. Let's see, so what did I work on? Well, one of them was Corner of the Earth by Tempting Tangles. And basically what I did was I got myself caught back up to where I was before the frocking. So we did for me, we did the top of the house. So this month's goal, this is on Autumn, Jogel and Autumn from Under the Sea Fabrics. So this month's goal is going to be the 2 parts, I've got like half of one part done, so I'm not going to necessarily aim specifically for a finish. Come on, Dropbox, do what I need. So here's the full pattern. Again, I'm not doing these little flowery bits. So I may just go ahead and aim for a finish, because I've got one part here, I've got the house, and then I've got this little bit under here. So there's not a whole tremendous lot left to do. So I may just say, you know what, let's go on for a finish. But that's where I'm at on it. I need to put a needle with it because the needle I was using decided that being a needle was not what it wanted to be any longer. Okay. So that's that one. Okay, I worked on Haunted Library by Lola Crow. Actually, I don't think I was supposed to do a stitch there, so we're just going to do this real quick. Turns out I was supposed to. Well, that's not the end of the world. So I got the big, bulky stitching part done. So now I'm working on the balustrades. So I'll work on that today. And I'll be back sort of on the 30-minute train with it this week. So I've got this across, and then I get to start on the staircases. And I really kind of think that, I've still got the brown parts too, but I think the black is going to move pretty quickly from here on. So here's that. Oh, and I could have put a stitch there, so that's good to know. All right. So, worked on that. I took Oztree with me to work because, that's the tiny Modernist, because I could work on filling in the branches pretty easily. And then I took doing a leaf and a half. So here's this one. This is on a one-off fabric from Fortnite Fabrics. My goal this month is going to be to do the Tin Man branch, so I'm well on my way there. So I've got, obviously I've got that leaf done, so I've got the Tin Man, the 2 mushrooms, the apple, the lollipop, and that little flower. So don't anticipate that one will take me very long. I am going to keep taking this one to work just to keep working on the, I think just to keep working on the branches, because that's easy fill. I worked on French Kitchen. I did not get as far on the French Kitchen as I had planned. I ended up spending the bulk of Sunday after I finished, where I was on Haunted Library, spent the bulk of the afternoon on the phone with AT&T. So I really only got the 2 baskets done. But that's okay, because this one is my whip go for, that was chosen by Katie, her Bard's wife. So she picked that one, so I'm going to get 500 stitches, which surely will finish out this top part. It may even end up dropping me down as the bottom part. And depending on how that goes, I may end up just aiming for a finish on the strawberries and mint. So that one is on a Fortnite Fabrics. It is Fairy Ring. And I'm doing a predominantly classic colorwork conversion. Alright, then I also started working last night on With the Needle by Lila's studio. So I'm over here at home. My goal for this month was just a quarter of the section. That's going to remain intact. Although depending on how far I get today, it may end up becoming a second quarter of it, which would be kind of nice. But I got the little cat dog thing done, and I got the year started, but I was just too tired yesterday to keep going. So that, after I do half hour, actually probably what I'll do is I'll work on Haunted Library until lunch, and then I'll switch over to With the Needle. Unless, of course, I'm just in a groove on Library. That is sort of the caveat there. That's on Rosemerta from Under the Sea Fabrics. Alright. That takes me through what I worked on this week. So now let's talk about the rest of my goals. As I predicted, I knew I was not going to get through all of my projects this month. So, with the Pride Salve, the Move Forward in Love by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is on Opal Brigid from Under the Sea. So that's where I've been since June. So I didn't touch it at all in July. So the goal remains 1/8 of the pattern. Good Lord, I looked at a lot of things. There we go. So that's where I am. So we're going to aim for 1/8. So it's going to be, probably start with this top one here. So it's going to be that branch, this weird flowery thing, and that branch. And then 1 burb. So, yeah, that's where I bees. All right, then we've got Adventure Awaits, which is by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I'm doing this on Mummy Wrap from Ship's Manor. Here's where I am on it. So I'm working on, it's a little hard to tell because how would you know just based off of what little bit of that light pink I've done down there. Right there. That's the Taj Mahal, or will be. So my plan is to at least get the various icons done. So the Taj Mahal, the towers, the cherry tree, the Great Wall of China, the nesting doll, and whatever mountain range that is, and the trees. So my goal is to at least get those done if I don't get the shoreline done. The next Whip Go goal for me is 400 on a Mirabilla. Now, I don't currently have any Mirabillas going. I'm also not planning on starting any Mirabillas. Oh, come on, where are you? Oh, you're way down there. So instead I'm going to, since it's similar style-wise, we'll be working on Snow White. This is on an Ale by Picture This Plus. So Snow White is from Brooke's books. The goal is 400 stitches, which I think is going to finish out that apron. So I think that's going to be my plan, is let's do the apron. And then probably the way I'll go from there is after the apron will come the skirt details, and then we can start in on more of the skirt. So that's the design. But I really do like this one. I really like the whole series. Probably my least favorite is Elsa. Because I like Anna, because she's got that cool Victorian thing going on, but just not wild about Elsa. But I will do them all. Alright. Then we've got Good Old Wicked Siblings, which didn't get touched this month, but that's okay. This was by Mama Witch Cross Stitch on a one-off from Fortnite Fabrics. So I still remain here on it. So the goal is going to be to come up here and do its little tree and some of its leaves. So there's where it is. Then we've got Frankenstein. This is on Mushroom and Garrick from Fortnite Fabrics. This is the Stitching Book Club. So here is the full pattern. My goal this month is going to be to finish the 4 medallions that I've still got to do. So the gravestone, the name, the this thing, and then the book club. And then I can take it to work, and it can be a work project for that inner border. Here's where I'm at. Then Stitching Witches, which did not get attention this month. So the goal is going to be half of this block, which is the witch playing tug of war with a crow and such. Here's where I'm at on it. And then my other new start that I started this month that's staying in the rotation. Actually, there's two of them technically that are staying in the rotation. One of them is, this is Wishing Thorn's Wheel of the Year. So my goal for it is going to be to finish this top bordery part and this part in here. So that then I'm ready to start. And I think my plan is going to be to try to do like 2 seasons at a time and then work down my way on the border. Here it is. This is on It's About Time from Fortnite Fabrics. Alright, and then I didn't actually show y'all what my new Moon New Star was, which is going to sort of stay in the rotation. I had not planned on this, but then I ordered it, got it, and it came in real quick, and I was just too excited not to. So it is a vintage Crewel kit. It's 16 by 20, and it's Sesame Street. So it's got Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, Cookie Monster, Little Bird, Bert and Ernie, Roosevelt Franklin, and Betty Lou, who Betty Lou is a little bit of a precursor to Prairie Dawn. So here it is. It's from 1977. It does use yarn. This is one of the cases where I was using knots. So started here. This is all supposed to be stem stitch, but I had a lot of trouble making stem stitch work for me, like in through here. So I switched over to back stitch, and I'm much happier with it. So that one's a really good one for nights when I'm just really tired, because it's not a lot of thinking, because it's printed, and I like that. So, anyhow, I guess that's it for me this week. The Lola Crow, that's finished out one of my other WIPCO goals from this month, so I'm still up to date on WIPCO. Yeah. So, of course, as always, drop me the Q&A. I do enjoy it. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. Bye.